Welcome to USTC360. I'm your host, Silva Shatterson, and today I'm here at Jungyan Monastery. It's the home base of the Buddhist Association of the United States, or BAUS, but also the host of a special program that brings Buddhist teachings behind bars. And in fact, it was social reformer Dorothy Dix from the 1800s who said, while we must diminish the stimulant of fear, we must increase to prisoners the incitement of hope. In proportion as we extinguish the terrors of the law, we should awaken and strengthen the control of the conscience. So join me now as we meet a gentleman who is making this awakening a reality. Richard Baksa is a Dharma teacher ordained by Thich Nhat Hanh in the year 2000. He is from the town of Kent in New York, but now lives an hour away from Costa Rica's capital, San Jose. His right-hand man, or rather woman, is his wife Adrienne, who helps oversee the transmission of letters in the Buddhist correspondence course. Up until now, I've used Skype, email, and since daylight savings, a 2-hour time difference to communicate back and forth. Thank you so much, Reverend. I appreciate your help.
No problem.
And today, I'm meeting Richard in person at the Jungyan Monastery in Carmel, upstate New York. It opened to the public in 1981 and is approximately 225 acres in size. It attracts thousands of visitors every year, and you can see why. So this property was purchased or given as a donation instead?
Yes, by Dr. Shen. Originally, it was 120 acres that was donated, and then subsequently another 100 acres were donated by him. So it's 220 some odd acres.
Well, so this is the Great Buddha Hall?
Yes, this is the Great Buddha Hall. The outside of the building is done in typical Tang Dynasty style architecture, which was considered to be the high point of architecture in the Chinese. The inside is based on a design by I.M. Pei, the architect. And what it utilizes is fireproof, compressed wooden beams that are incredibly strong. And it kind of reflects the openness of the monastery. That's why it was done this way.
What is so significant about this Buddha statue? Because I understand it's quite famous.
Yes, it's the largest indoor statue of the Buddha in the Western Hemisphere. The statue is interesting in that it was built in 3 separate sections. It was built outside, and when the sections were completed, they were put together with a large crane. Then the building itself, literally, was built around the statue. We have 10,000 smaller statues surrounding it, and there are various interpretations of it, but the one I had heard is that if you understand Buddhism and you look at any of the 10,000 things of the world, you will see a reflection of the Buddha's teaching. The Dalai Lama was here for the groundbreaking ceremony, and then when the building was completed, he was here for the dedication itself. It was quite an impressive ceremony, and the Dalai Lama stayed after the dedication of the building, and he gave teachings. And this hall will accommodate just about 1,000 people. It was totally packed. The building next door, the Kuan Yin Hall, holds substantially less. That was totally packed.
Well, another notable teacher that we have here at the monastery is you.
I don't know if I'm notable or not, but I've been fortunate in that the prison program has worked well. Yeah.
Well, do you mind if we go outside and we chat more about that?
Certainly, I'd love to.
Well, now, what can you tell me about the program that you're running out of the monastery here?
All right, the prison correspondence course started as an outgrowth of the prison program, and it began about 10 years ago. The prison program, basically, we send books and information on Buddhism to prisoners. And I started to get feedback from prisoners saying, there's so much material out there on Buddhism that it's very confusing. Is there any kind of a course that I can take where I can learn about the fundamentals? And I checked, and at that particular time, there really wasn't anything available that would be suitable for prisoners. So I began to develop one based on the books we had in the monastery. What it consists of, it's a correspondence course, and it's based on 5 books and 1 handout. The feedback we've gotten from the students has been extremely favorable. We do have a questionnaire for when people graduate. We've had 30 graduates over this 10-year period. It takes about 3.5 years to complete the course. We have non-prisoners in the course as well. We have a correction officer who supervises prisoners, and he said he noticed such a difference in the prisoners he supervised that were taking the course that he wants to take it for his stress relief.
So how is it that a student can start in the course?
We, being the prison correspondence course, are listed in a number of resource lists that go into the prisons. In addition, whenever we send out books to prisoners, we also mention the course. Right now we have 483 students in the course, and we have 70 mentors who work with the prisoners. We have a waiting list of about 80 some odd people who want to take the course, but we don't have enough qualified mentors.
So what are the assignments like?
The first book would introduce you to really the fundamental concepts. Once you have got some of the theory down, the next book introduces you to the practice of meditation. Prisoner reading this and answering the assignments begins their meditation practice. Now what we want to know is what's your experience in meditation. Very often this is shocking to a prisoner. One of my first meditation teachers told me, if you meditate, you're going to become a lot more compassionate, because as you meditate, you're going to realize what a god-awful mess you are. And you realize you're not alone. Everybody else has their stew pot. And realizing this, you become a lot more compassionate and handling other people when they become angry. So this is what we want to know. What is the meditation experience doing for you? One of the main problems we have in a number of different prisons is a reluctance upon the part of prison officials to admit anything in that's not of a Christian nature. So we've done research, and we have a packet of legal information we give a prisoner that basically details their right to practice whatever their religion is. Another problem we have is the prison environment is inherently noisy. If a prisoner finds it too difficult to sit in formal meditation, we transition them to mindfulness practice during the day. So we have a certain flexibility depending upon the circumstances that exist in the prison.
And also, I understand it takes quite a bit of time for the prisoner to actually receive any feedback from the program.
Yes, we work by mail. Most prisoners do not have access to the internet.
And all of that goes to Costa Rica, where you live now.
Yes. When we sign up a new prisoner, the first thing we do is assign a mentor. We send out the first assignment. Typically, it might take 2 weeks for the prisoner to receive the mail. It may take them 2 weeks to complete the assignment, perhaps a little bit longer. They will then mail the assignment back to us in Costa Rica. We get it, we scan it, my wife scans it, and it goes to the mentor. We know when we sent it, and if we don't hear back from a mentor within about a month, we contact them. So let's say it takes about a month. So at this point, we're talking in terms of maybe 2 to 3 months in total. We give them a certificate. We also tell them that we will contact the prison authorities. Let them know that they have completed the course, let them know what kind of student they were, and the fact that the prisoner is trying to turn their life around. And hopefully that is of some benefit when they come up for parole.
So not only are you trying to connect the students with the mentors, you're also trying to connect the students with each other, but in a very creative way.
Yes.
So do you mind if we have a look at your ideas and also look at the rest of the monastery as well?
Certainly. Let us go.
So can you show me what you've got here?
Yes, what we do is we publish a newsletter on a quarterly basis, and it goes to all of the students in the course. By law, prisoners cannot correspond with each other. And what happens is, in many prisons, there are not very many Buddhist practitioners, and they may not even be able to meet with each other. And that gives rise to a feeling of sort of isolation. So we started the newsletter when we began the course as a way of prisoners to communicate with each other, to encourage each other in their own practice, to talk about the problems they have, and who best to help solve those problems but other prisoners. And it's worked out extremely well. For example, in this particular one, the individual talks about physical confrontation. This is a big thing in prison. If you are confronted by an individual, you're expected in a prison to respond with violence. And he's saying, that doesn't work. Violence never works. So he talks about the techniques he's used in order to avoid physical confrontation. So this is a way of a prisoner reaching out to others saying, you don't have to be this way. In another case, we have a letter from a hardened criminal talking about his criminal career. And he's addressing young men who are just going to prison for the first time, who believe that, well, the life of crime can be glamorous. They're big men when they violate the rules. And he's saying it doesn't work that way. Look at my life. Look what I've been through. So he's attempting to reach out and change people because he himself was changed.
And you've also received a lot of artwork.
Yes, we have. It's amazing that there's been an unleashing of creativity upon the part of prisoners. There's one particular one that really stands out, and that was a drawing by a prisoner of the Dalai Lama. And if you look at the face, you can see the compassion, the kindness that's reflected in that face. And you've got to think that whoever could do this has found a certain amount of compassion and kindness in themselves. And this is what we're trying to do, to have people change their mental attitudes. One of the exercises we give prisoners is the metta meditation, where you send loving kindness to yourself, then you send it to someone you love, and then somebody you know, and then finally somebody perhaps whom you don't like at all. And it's an attempt to change the mindset of a prisoner. And what we found very often is prisoners would write to us and say, I can't do it. And we have to work with them to change their perception. Yes, they've done bad things, but they can change. And they maybe will not be able to make restitution to the people they've hurt, but they can certainly start by sending kindness to other people, by helping other people to whatever degree they can. And in doing so, they begin to turn their own lives around.
I also understand that there's another volunteer, but also mentor, who works as part of the program.
Right.
Who was instrumental in helping distribute other materials through your program as well.
Yes, that's right. And excellent material, and she herself is an excellent mentor, yes.
Well, let's go meet her now then.
Wonderful, let's do that.
Yixing Chen, who writes as a mentor in Richard Baksa's program, is also a Tzu Chi volunteer. She helped connect the Zhengyuan Monastery to the foundation and facilitated the shipment of Jingsa aphorism books to students of the program last December.
Today, we brought one case of Jingsi aphorism to the monastery here. This is the supply, the second time that we brought their books here. We are so touched by, their reflection, their response to the books. And therefore, it's really encourage us to bring some, and also encourage the brothers and sisters in the monastery to provide more books to the prisoners. More than 10 years ago, they developed the BCC program. It was very good program, and we did not know about that until recently. So we contact with Richard Baksa, and he was so kind. He allowed us to join this program. So last year, in October, we started the program, and it came out with very good results because many prisoners wrote back later to thank the whole program and the books. They really like it. So this is very, very good program, and the master's book has really helped them.
Through the Buddhist correspondence course, Tzu Chi has donated more than 470 books and journals to inmates in 42 states across the U.S. They started in December 2013 and already have received a flood of letters to the U.S. headquarters in San Dimas from inmates all over the country.
Just wanted to write and let you know I received the material that was donated by Sushi Foundation. Thank you so much for passing it on. It is excellent material that will aid my daily walk along the path.
I have learned so very much from this course. There's only one word I can use to describe it: transformative. Things are much better now than prior to the course. I am more peaceful, more compassionate, more tolerant, understanding, and loving. These very things that I thought would make me weak have made me strong. The teachings on Anicca, for me, are liberating. Hell, it's all liberating.
It's this way that Tzu Chi has been able to spread its compassion behind bars. I'm now joined by Yixing Chen, who is a mentor here at the program and is also part of the Tzu Chi Foundation. I would like to ask you, how did you get involved in the first place?
Oh, I started here. I'm taking a course, and at the time, Richard wants some mentor. And then I said, well, that's a good opportunity for me to try. And that's how I start. I start to learn a lot from the prisoner too. And some of them are pretty intelligent, so it also helped me to advance.
Well, also, you took a very proactive stance because last year in 2013, you suggested that books from the Tzu Chi Foundation, mainly the Jingsa aphorisms, be sent out to students in this program.
Tzu Chi aphorism, I find is very good for general public because it's so easy to understand and with a lot of wisdom there. You don't need a strong background about the Buddhism. Everybody can take it in.
They're direct, they're simple, they could be understood very easily by anyone who can read, and the message was an excellent message and something prisoners could use and utilize in their life. More than 40 letters that basically have said, this is a wonderful book, thank you for sending it.
What is also the purpose of the Tzu Chi Foundation sending these books to prisoners specifically?
To me, since it's easy for them, they can practice. They're in a very harsh environment. That's really a challenge. Also, I think can change people's life. Sendimas, at least last time I heard, is well over 70 letters coming from the prisoners. Now probably have more. For example, one of the prisoner kind of say he was so touched by this Sandy relief effort because he used to live in New Jersey. And some of them just want to donate, as this particular one, want to donate $5, even though it sounds very little, but for the prisoner, that's a lot of money. We all have good and bad part, maybe, but they do have this positive side. And the Tzu Chi aphorism actually can awaken them to that positive part.
And would you say that that is the purpose of corresponding with these prisoners, of sending them all these materials?
They have a chance to take control of their lives. Many times they just don't know how to go about doing it. And Buddhism gives them a very effective way of learning how to turn their lives around.
And also, because many of these efforts are donation-based, let's say a donor wants to contribute money towards a specific effort, to not be able to see necessarily direct or immediate results from the donation that they may have made, what would you say to convince someone who might be thinking in this way, who is skeptical about seeing any kind of results?
You shouldn't look for immediate results. What you're doing is you're giving because you've benefited, and you're giving in order to benefit other people. You don't know when it's going to happen. You don't know where it's going to happen or how it's going to happen, but it will happen.
I always feel you be able to give or volunteer is a privilege. Okay, since not everybody can do that. So I find doing those like donation or volunteerism will help us too. You feel much happier, and you also make yourself a better person.
Why is it that so much of the written correspondence is going to this particular population?
It's going to these populations because these are the people who need it the most. These are also the people who have the fewest resources, and that's why we chose prisoners for this.
Do you feel like it might be a challenge to relate to anyone that you've been writing to the population that you are trying to help, especially knowing that they have committed a crime?
We all have some negative part. If they are willing to accept Buddhism, that's a very good sign. Okay? We should never turn anybody down just because of their past. So if you make every present moment a good one, then the future will be a good one. So everything will start at the present. So if I help a criminal or not criminal, to me it's the same.
And also, Richard, what is your hope for working with the Tzu Chi Foundation to perhaps maybe continue sending the Jingsa aphorism books as a supplement to the program?
Given the response that we've gotten from the prisoners as to how much it's helped them, I think this is a wonderful addition to the program. It's about helping prisoners, and certainly this has been very well received. And we'd like to continue with that as long as we possibly can, yeah.
The program focuses a lot on meditation and also on exercises regarding mindfulness.
Yes.
So how can prisoners bring those exercises into their daily lives and bring it to actual points of success?
Well, as you begin to develop mindfulness, you begin to see the destructive patterns that you have in your own behavior. And as you begin to see these, you can begin to change them. As you begin to practice mindfulness, the next stage many of them go through is, while they're doing something out of anger, they realize they're angry, but they can't stop what they're doing. As they continue to develop mindfulness, they're angry, they realize what they're doing doesn't make sense, and at some point they stop. And then finally, the goal for all of this is someone realizes they're becoming angry, knows what the consequences will be, step backs at that point before the anger even develops completely. The more they can do this, the more destructive behavior they avoid, and the more opportunity they give themselves to change that kind of behavior into something positive. But you can only do that if you're aware of them. You can't change what you're not aware of. Therefore, mindfulness makes you aware of what you're doing and gives you the opportunity to change.
And of course, the Tzu Chi Foundation, one of their major principles is that compassion can be transformed into action.
Yes.
So how do you feel like that complements your course or your efforts?
It complements it very well in the sense that what we tell prisoners is, you've made mistakes, that's true, but you're not locked into who and what you think you are. You can change. And as you begin to change, one of the things you begin to do is to show compassion, to show help to other people. The Tzu Chi Foundation certainly fits into that, because prisoners who have written letters to us have said, I was impressed by what they do. And yeah, I'm in prison, but I have an opportunity to give. And if they can do something like that, I can do something like that. Maybe on a smaller scale, but the scale is important. It's the attitude and the doing of it that's important.
And what about for an inmate that will be in prison for the rest of his life?
If you can benefit by helping others, it doesn't matter how long you're in prison. You've changed your life to a certain degree. You've made your life a little richer, a little fuller, a little happier, because now you're thinking about others and you're not so self-centered yourself.
What can you also tell me about the return rate of prisoners who return back to prison? And also, do you think that a program like yours can help?
The rate of people going back to prison is roughly 63% of the people who are released from prison will be back in prison within 3 years. Do I think that we can make a difference? Yeah, I really do. We have, for example, 2 people who graduated from the course. One is now ordained as a Buddhist nun. One is ordained as a Zen monk. Others have said that the course has changed the way they look at life, and they feel more confident they won't wind up in prison again because they better understand themselves. They better understand the destructive habits they've had. It's difficult to quantify, but based upon the letters we've gotten, I think we're making a difference, yeah.
Well, good luck in both of your efforts in changing the prison system all over the world.
Thanks.
And thank you very much for joining us.
And thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And before we go, I want to tell you about the plea that Dorothy Dix made before the Massachusetts legislature in 1843. In her final remarks, she encouraged them to raise up the fallen, restore the outcast, defend the helpless, and as their great and eternal reward, to welcome blessing after blessing. I hope that her words and those of our guests today have inspired you too to broaden the limits of your compassion, of your patience, and of your heart. I'm Dilbar Shatterson, and thanks for joining me here at the Zhangyan Monastery. I'll see you soon.